Well, it's just gone 9 minutes past 4, and we will be with you on the Iftar drive right until the time of Iftar in Johannesburg, which is at around 10 minutes to 6 this afternoon. But we're going to go now to be joined by our respected, our Honorable Maulana Suhail Wadi. We're talking about a charity event that was taking place out in Yemen, and we've subsequently learned of a number of people that have been killed and crushed at this Ramadan charity event. Maulana, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Uh, as,
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
as always, welcome, Maulana, and wonderful that you are able to join us once again during this month of Ramadan, iftar time. But sadly, we've learned of tragedy, and we see a lot of pain, we see a lot of sorrow right around us, year in, year out. Ramadan comes, Ramadan goes, and now we've learned about this charity event in Yemen where a number of people killed. What is the background to this, Maulana?
So apparently, what had happened was a businessman had announced that he's going to give $10 in terms of his zakat out to people. So what had happened was that many people flocked to a school where this in Sana'a in Yemen. Many people flock to receive. As we know that Yemen has one of the worst humanitarian crises, probably the worst humanitarian crisis of 22 million people that are affected. So desperation is very, very rife, and people, for the $10, flock. And what had transpired is that because of the crowds that were there, I think the police or the soldiers tried to shoot in the air, and thus struck a light box, which caused an explosion. And what had happened was, when people started to run, and people started to flee, and out of the shock. And because of this, a stampede had occurred, and unfortunately, very tragically, close to around 78 people have passed away. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them Jannatul Firdaus, make it easy for the family. About over 111 people have been reportedly have been injured. And this is just how do I say, it puts Yemen in spotlight, the desperation that people are facing, and that for $10, tragically close to 80 people have passed away. We know that to work in these areas, it's very, very constrained, and there's lots of protocols that needs to be observed, so incidences like this don't happen. So, for example, if we're doing a distribution, you have to apply at the local ministry. You have to get permission. It can take up to maybe 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Then it has to be done in a very contained area, an area where they are list, and so forth, to be able to manage the crowds. So unfortunately, yeah, I think either out of happiness and or out of ignorance, the brother or the businessman wanted to give out his zakah, and thus unfortunately it has caused a major loss of life.
Well, Molana, in fact, yes, I was also just reading up on this, and as you mentioned, the level of desperation for even a $9, which or $10, which equates to about 5,000 Yemeni riyals, but every little bit, and we are also led to believe that as the door had just opened, and there was just a big rush of people, and we know that at this point in time, Yemen, two-thirds of the population in Yemen at this point in time in desperate or dire need of aid.
Yeah, so since the internal conflict, and it's very sad, Alhamdulillah, at least there has been signs of a ceasefire. There's negotiations that are happening in terms of a ceasefire, but the reality is that it's the general populace that are in dire need and dire assistance. And unfortunately, many of the ports have been closed, the airports have been closed, and inshallah, once things open up, it will be much more easier for aid workers to be able to assist. And yet, inshallah, we make dua that things open up, and there's some understanding that can happen politically, because this is really having an impact on the general poor. And where there's starvation, people are suffering. Families can't make ends meet. People have become internally displaced because of the civil war. So our hearts go out to the people. We make earnest dua that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them. And inshallah, things will get better, inshallah. Today is very, very tragic in the month of Ramadan, a few days before Ramadan, maybe 1 day or 2 days before Ramadan, and for this to happen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But our hearts and our tears are there for the people of Yemen.
Well, definitely, Molana. And Molana also, when one looks at, how desensitized media can actually be, because I've seen one of the reports on CNN, and their headline on this whole issue is people sacrifice their lives for just $10. Now, to make a statement like this, I mean, did people go out? Did they sacrifice their lives? Did they go willingly and says, what, whether my life, comes to an end or not, I'm going to get the $10. Now, this is how desensitized the world has become. The media has become, ignoring the fact that these people have years and years and years where, they've had famine, they've been victims of war, they've been victims of brutality and all of this. And for a headline like that to appear just actually speaks volume as to what sometimes the world actually thinks about the suffering of people.
Yes, yes, most definitely. The reality is that nobody goes for $10 to die. People, what you call it, are going there because it's a sense of hope. It's also close it's close to Eid. And people are looking for for whatever means that they can have. But obviously, nobody goes out there just to go and die. I think Allah Ta'ala knows best. It's something that nobody really plans to happen. And it's one of those things that has transpired. It's very, very unfortunate that it has transpired. And our earnest dua is for the people that have left. We can still only make this plea. They continue to support the people of Yemen, because they've been suffering since around 2015, and it's now many, many years. And and you rightly said, this famine that's there, it's exacerbated because of the civil war that's happening. The external powers and external people that are involved, that is creating for the masses. And it's very, very unfortunate. And we have to continue to support the people of Yemen.
Yes. Well, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to go for a quick air break. We'll be back.
Make a real impact this Ramadan. Donate your zakah to Ashraful Aid. Your zakah can help feed an orphan, support a widow, build a home for a refugee family, sponsor a HIF student, and much more. With Ashraful Aid, you can make a real difference. Visit our website at www.ashrafulaid.org to make a donation. Make your Ramadan meaningful with Ashraful Aid.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
In the aftermath of the tragic earthquakes in Syria and Turkey, thousands of survivors are struggling and in need of food, shelter, and life-saving aid. This Ramadan, take a closer look at the countless lives that have been turned upside down. You have the power to help. Your donation is the lifeline, a beacon of hope in an otherwise hopeless situation. Please donate today. Visit donate.unhcr.org/Ramadan ZA.
For a long time, we've lived in a centralized world where institutions held the all important data and confirmed all transactions. Those times are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain developing company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
One word that changes the life of a child. Orphan. One word to replace smiles with tears, confidence with anxiety, and a future with fear. Help Africa Muslims Agency to give these orphans a new word. Hope. AMA's Orphan Hope program provides security for needy children in rural Africa, in Afghanistan, and in the Syrian and Palestinian refugee camps of Lebanon. For 15,000 Rand per year, you can change their life, give them hope, with Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
Well, the time is just gone 20 minutes past 4 as we continue with the Iftar Drive, and we are focusing on the stampede that had taken place in Sana'a in Yemen, where well over 100 people have died, sadly, as a result of a charity, and people had basically rushed in to get $10, and just for those $10, we've heard of so many deaths, and it's sad reality of the world that we are living in at this point in time. Now, Molana, just to continue, and obviously looking at it from a Shaful Aid's perspective, I know you've had your presence, you've done a lot for Yemen as well, and right now, I know you've had a very busy Ramadan as well. We spoke, I think, a week or two ago, looking at the Shaful Aid, looking at your activities, but I'm sure a lot more work still lies ahead. We've got Eid coming up, and beyond Eid, because it's not only about Ramadan. It's these are challenges, these are problems that we are faced in every single day of the year.
Yes, most definitely. The aid is ongoing, and I think also it's important that that we understand that the basics of people for food in different parts of in provinces of Yemen. There's actual starvation that is happening, and we have to continue to support. Also in terms of water, which is the basic necessity. Drinkable water. This is a real big need that is required in Yemen. And also what we've seen is that the access to healthcare, basic healthcare, is so many of Yemenis, because of malnutrition, that there's diseases that are there. People require medical support. So these are the three focus areas that we can assist with. It's very sad to say, that Yemen is a sanctioned country. So some of the most toughest parts for us as NGOs is a transferring of funds, into Yemen. Many times, these funds, there's potentially that they can get blocked, or I won't say get blocked, get rejected, and we have to keep on trying, through various means, to be able to get funding, into Yemen. And I know some of our co-funders from the UK, very interestingly also, their accounts have been frozen, and because of their transferring of funds into Yemen. So this also makes it exceptionally hard. And it's unfortunate, that because of the sanctions, sometimes humanitarian aid, is not able to reach, especially those that need it most desperately. So Alhamdulillah, Shukr Aid has been managing, to continue for multiple years, month on month. Actually, we have a month on month program, and this is only through the grace of Allah. But it's unfortunate that a large part of the humanitarian crisis is actually caused by international forces.
Yes, Maulana. Maulana, Jazakallah for that. And well, all information with regard to Yemen and also all your other projects, Alhamdulillah, are on your website. And I'm sure if people visit your website on AAA, or if they just Google AAA, it will take them straight to the website. And obviously, they can contribute. And inshallah, Allah make it easy. But also at the same time, Maulana, Allah accept from you, Allah reward your efforts and the entire team at AAA, alhamdulillah, for all the wonderful work that you have been doing. And inshallah, at some point in time, we will touch base again. But for now, Maulana, have yourself whatever is left of this month of Ramadan, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala keep you blessed, and also a wonderful day of Eid, inshallah, to you and everybody else.
Ameen. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Maulana Suhail Wadi with us this afternoon, which brings us straight on to 4:25. Shortly at around 4:30, it is going to be the Asr Azan, and we're going away for the Asr Salah at around 20 minutes to 5. We will be linking up with the lawyer, the attorney for Dr. Afia Siddiqui. We're talking with Clive Stafford Smith, who is a lawyer, and we'll take a look at a number of issues, looking at it from a legal perspective, and also the whole legal position with regard to Dr. Afia Siddiqui and her release. So that will be at around 20 minutes to 5 this afternoon. Stay with us, don't go away.
Okay, and then now, just recently, after about 60, 70, maybe 80 years as a museum, things changed. And when I was in Turkey twice, and recently, about 3 years ago maybe, and it was still a museum.
Yes.
Subsequently, things changed. What's happened then now?
It was converted in the 2020s. In 2020, so it was converted from a mosque into a museum by a congressional decision. That decision was overturned by a cabinet of ministers. So that's a political process that it went through. After that, it was reopened as a mosque. So it was, an imam was appointed to it. It was, carpeted once again. Some of the internal structure. So for a long time, there was this internal scaffolding that was there that was used for renovations. That scaffolding sat there for so long that it technically, in terms of Turkish life, became a historical artifact. Even removing the scaffolding was a political tribulation. After that point, alhamdulillah, seeing as the ISFA has always been this kind of political focus for a lot of people. For a lot of people with more Islamic sensibilities in Turkey, the ISFA has always been this desired outcome. And I guess finally, alhamdulillah, the necessary political will came about, and the necessary desire on behalf of the people came about, and people's dreams were granted. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the dua of millions of Turkish people everywhere. And that last break in our heart was mended, alhamdulillah, was shifted from a museum, back into a mosque, alhamdulillah.
And you say that reflected the wish of millions of Turks, although
Definitely.
as you have already identified, the majority of Turks are the vast majority of the Muslim faith, but it's largely a pretty secular society these days, right? And they still wanted that museum to be converted back into a mosque.
So the awkward thing about secularism and faith and Turks currently is societally and politically, I would say there is this I think what we call being secular and what we call being more Muslim, those are kind of the opposite extremes. There aren't many people who are very secular in the sense that they are diehard faith and church, church and state should be separate, very insistent on secular ideals. And there aren't so many people who are 100%, Islam should be the deciding factor for everything. What we have in Turkey is we have this middle ground of people who identify as Muslims. And if you say they weren't Muslim, they'd be incredibly offended by it.